Female traders are rare, like a rare breed in a jungle full of males. My next guest, Anne Rossignol, describes herself as an adrenaline junkie. She trades almost exclusively crude oil and is brutally honest and humble about her failures and achievements. Here we are in her beautiful home in West London to capture a slice in her trader's life.
Anne, welcome to Trader's Life. Here I am with this strange device because my assistant didn't bring the other mic. Never mind. Anyway, I came across you on LinkedIn and I saw not only a female trader, I don't like that phrase very much, but a woman who trades, and you trade commodities. And moreover, you are based in London, so I was able to set up a meeting with you and wanted to ask you how you got into trading to begin with. How did you do that? Why trading? Why not something safer?
Why trading? It's fairly recent. I started trading 5 years ago. I had taken a break in my career to raise my children, and I wanted to get back into work, but I didn't want to go back to what I was doing before, which was very much centered around marketing, direct marketing. I was running my own business that I sold when my son was born. And I've always been fascinated by geopolitics and the ripple effects they have on the economy, on society, and particularly in commodities. And I also was going through a phase in my life where I wanted to get back into a career and I wanted to be able to earn a decent amount of money very quickly. So that's the bit I got completely wrong. But that's what took me to trading. I found it fascinating, never worked in finance before. So I went back to studying with Amplify Trading in London and did a level 5 diploma of trading and financial analysis, and then stayed with them on their trading floor, and that's how my adventure started. And then within a few months of that, COVID happened, lockdown, trading floor closed, and I landed here at home with my screens, and I didn't want to give it up, but I was very, very inexperienced, and I moved from a trading floor with people, mentors, wealth of experience in different fields, to me, myself, and my screens here. And it was tough, really tough, but very quickly I discovered quite a large community of online traders, different trading floors, trading platforms like Clubhouse, which has a very large community of traders. And I plugged in, and that's been my experience thus far. I trade for a prop firm on my own here, but I'm connected to traders mostly in the States, but other traders in Germany and Turkey, and we all trade commodities. We all trade mostly oil, and we trade together when we fancy trading together, or if it's a quiet day like today, we're waiting for Powell's speech. It's been a monumental move in the last couple of days, nothing's going on. Then nothing's going on. I'm at home, I can crack on with my to-do list, going for a walk if it's nice and sunny. And when there is a lot of volatility, a lot of movement, I'm here.
Why commodities and not, say, Forex or shares?
I started with Forex actually. Initially at Amplify Trading, I was on a Forex account, and it was really exciting because it was a Brexit vote and there was plenty of volatility, and I think it's a brilliant place to start Forex, to have the plasticity, the neuroplasticity, to be able to look at two places at once and understand the movement. But commodities more directly linked to geopolitics, and that's really what I like, what I find fascinating. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a journalist, preferably a war journalist, understanding conflicts, geopolitics, etc., etc. I never pursued that route, but somehow commodities and what's going on in the world seems to be impacted the most, particularly oil,
For sure, and I suppose natural gas as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kinds of strategies do you use for trading mainly oil, as you said?
My main strategy is a breakout. I don't like trading in the middle of the chart. So I spend a lot of time analyzing my chart. And I do either a breakout or a return pullback. I work with value areas. And yes, that's my main trading strategy. I've tried loads of different things over the years, obviously, but this is the one that sticks for me.
And what sort of time frame when you say breakout?
I chart on a 4-hour time frame, and I have those value areas and those key level, which are on fairly higher time frame. I have other markers which I do on weekly charts and daily charts, but I do place my trades on the 2000 volume charts. That's what I like to narrow it down to. And I use Akinashi candles rather than Japanese, because I've been taught, and I think it works really well, to focus on the rhythm of the oil market. And given the high volatility of that market, Japanese candles can be a false signal. They can make you a little jumpy. And from the moment I switch from Japanese candlestick to Akinashi, and on that particular 2000 volume, that I narrow down sometimes when the market is quiet. But for the WTI Open, a 2000 candlestick Akinashi is I'm used to it now. I recognize the signal, and it's less noisy.
Better perhaps for longer trends, if you can get a longer trend. And better for the nerves, as you say, because if you're looking at candles, especially in oil, it's generally volatile. Therefore, you're constantly going back to your chart, or at least you want to. And that can be very tiring during the day, can't it?
Absolutely.
Whereas if you look at a long line of green candles on 4 hour, you think, well, okay, when I see my red, then I get out,
And also it helps narrow down the window of entry. I have my charting and my levels, which are horizontal lines on my screen of all various colors of the rainbow, and some are dotted and some are dashed, but I know what they mean. And so once I've identified the right candle for entry, I narrow down with those lines that give me point of entry. And for exit, I tend to use Fibonacci. I cannot trade without a Fibonacci retracement on any chart, any time frame. I find that's the only tool I use. I don't use indicators, but Fibonacci has been my best friend.
So if that's your exit, that's Fibonacci extension rather than the retracement tool, right?
It depends on what the market is doing. Yesterday, the perfect destination target was minus 160, 180, because we were having such large movement, and we achieved it, just before the close. And I was able to see that with the Fibonacci projection, and that really, and also it helps me stay longer in my trades, because I had a tendency of staying, like the good old mistakes of staying too long in your losses and getting out of your winners too quickly. What if? Having those Fibonacci projections and retracements really help saying, it's very likely that we'll reach this because it's 6180. So don't go out now, just hold on for a few more ticks. And it works very often. So that's helping me, even for entries. I do also use Fibonacci for entries, but not just. It needs to be a Fibonacci level and on the trend, and an area of previous interest that I've marked that has been support or resistance at least 3 times in the last time the price was at that level.
How much is the news generally influencing the way you trade?
Less and less. I started off calling myself a fundamental trader and realizing I'm losing a lot of money trading what I think and not what I see. And whilst I always keep an eye on the news, that's my hobby, I love it, I try to keep that bias very muted. So if the chart are doing what I thought they were doing, brilliant. And I use the technical analysis for entry. If the chart are not doing what I think they're doing, either I can wrap my head round and say, you were wrong, something's going on that you're not aware of, or this is what it is, or if I can't, I don't trade. And I did an exercise recently. Someone was asking me for my stats. They're interested in potentially welcoming me on their trading floor. And so I was looking at the number of days I trade, and the numbers of days I don't trade, but when I'm at my desk, not because it's a day off or a holiday. And the number of days I don't trade has increased dramatically this year. And so has my profitability.
I do think a lot of us overtrade. I mean, that's a common problem, isn't it? it has a kind of addictive property to it. You know, that you get that dopamine hit, you get it. Yeah, I won that one. You want more of it, and before you know, you're just throwing yourself into even small, tight opportunities just for the thrill of it. You might pretend you're not, but actually deep down you kind of know that that's what you're doing, and that sets bad behaviors in place. And then, of course, if you then start losing, you're at risk of going to the revenge sort of scenario where you then, you know, because you're angry, you've been slapped in the face, you know.
That's exactly how I blew my first account.
Yeah.
That demonic rage that takes over, and there's no rhyme or reason. And it ends up me crawling under my desk to physically unplug the computer to stop myself. And that is terrifying. That is really, truly terrifying. This is the tunnel vision, there's a fight or flight where you actually don't remember or even remember what I've just done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've just blown my first account. And
was it a lot of money? I mean,
it was $25,000, which to some people would be a bad day at work, but for me, was everything I had in my account. That was my new start, and I blew it in 2.5 days, but mostly the last day, pushing the F it button and saying, what have I got to lose now? I've so far gone, and one more, and one more, and one more. And then what? You know?
Yeah.
And it goes super quickly. It was a COVID time. I was just recovering from COVID, so it was an absolute idiocy to even contemplate trading. You know, that's also something I've learned. You know, do an assessment of your physical, emotional, cognitive state. And if it's a below 7 out of 10, don't bother.
Yeah, no, it's very true, isn't it? If you're somewhat agitated because of personal stuff going on, it can be anything.
Hangover, argument with a boyfriend. But I've learned the hard way. You know, now I know all this. I was taught it. I was told. But everything went out of the window, and I did not remember. But after that, I took the help of a coach, a trading coach, a performance coach, and that was immensely beneficial to establish patterns, recognize the agitation, build a decision tree. If that happens, don't think. This scenario happens, then this happened, and practice that. And instilling a form of discipline and doing things rigorously. So that's been a positive consequence of that mad moment. I really lost my head.
Yeah, did you think, looking back, that was atypical of you? I mean, my problem is I'm a bit like you describe, you know, impulsive, and I will get angry and then sort of fight back, which of course is completely counterproductive. I've learned to tame that.
Yeah, so do I. So have I.
You're a bit inclined to...
Yeah. I think you would say I'm a sign of fire. You know, it really is. I'm impulsive and passionate. I used to be, you know, an adrenaline junkie. You know, the higher, the better, the faster. I've you know, slowed down a great deal on that front. I think age as well helps. Finally learning that somewhere in the middle is a happy medium. And practicing discipline and also lifestyle, you know. Things like meditation in the morning is something that I do religiously now. I won't start my day without a meditation. I understand the power of breathing. I have a spiritual practice. All these things are part of my new life. When I came into trading, it was post-divorce. It was also after a complete lifestyle change of complete sobriety. And rediscovering my life spiritually and in a very clean way. So trading and acquiring the discipline in trading was very much part of that journey. The synchronicity of all these things happening together has been immensely helpful. You know, very difficult start when you have to start again from scratch, new surrounding, new rules, no escapism. But it's all part of the same path, you know, walking towards the same goal. And it is not at all what I expected. I am profitable. I've been profitable since the beginning of, not even the beginning, the end of the first trimester this year. So all that time where I was chasing, making money, being financially independent, all this, it didn't actually happen. It was very labor intensive, hard lessons, but resilience, perseverance, and trying to understand the fundamental principle behind all this, humility, and it's starting to pay off, but very modestly, but adding on the compound effect. That also took me ages to understand. I wanted to make that much today, and I would, but I would give it back because I wanted more. That disease of more that I've had pretty much all my life until I realized I had it and decided to do something about it. But very much you were talking about addiction. Trading can be addictive, but it can also be not addictive if you understand the danger and apply some form of humility in front of it.
Talk to me about the big loss and how it happened, and was it over a few days? Was it really quite rapid? Where did you go wrong, and where did you compound the mistakes? How did you compound the mistakes, I should say?
I've got very blurry memories of that event for loads of reasons. It was very early days. It was April 2020. And I just arrived back home with all my computers, etc., having been not kicked out of the trading floor, but it felt a bit like this. And there was a succession of events. On the 11th of March 2020, I divorced. On the 14th of March 2020, I got diagnosed with a very bad case of COVID. When it was very early days, there was no lockdown, and it really hit me hard. I was in very pitiful condition for 2 or 3 weeks. And so when I recovered from that, I was not well emotionally, as you can imagine, not well physically, very weakened, and I was full of fears. And one of the largest fears was fear of economic insecurity. And it was, oh my God, I've just divorced and now a single mom. I've got all these things. I need to get on with it. I need to provide. And I didn't think very rationally. I was driven by fear. And so I, as soon as I could physically, got back to my computer, having 1 year experience, barely. The markets are in total chaos. No one knows what's going on, but I know what's going to happen. I'm going to make $5,000 today. And I embarked on that quest, and I did that 2.5 days in a row, and I wiped my account. Simply put. But that's exactly how it happened, and that was the reason why. And I wanted to make $5,000 a day. First day I lost that $5,000. And there was that boiling rage, disappointment, humiliation, I'm never going to make it type of thing. On top of a very, very weak physically. I really was not well, I think I should have been hospitalized, that insanity. And I did it again the next day worse, and the last day. But I remember the zombie-like figure. When I said I crawled under my desk to physically unplug, I did. My computer was there at the time. And then admit complete defeat and surrender to doing nothing and realizing the world is not collapsing, still got a roof over my head. The situation is not as bad as that. It was all fears. And look what you've done. So I took a long time off. I can't remember exactly how much time, 1.5 months, 2 months, where I was like, what am I doing? What am I going to do with my life now? And if I'm going to go back to this, I really need to do it on a different plane. And I contacted people I knew, my ex-mentor, and he suggested that performance coach. It was amazing. I probably did a couple of months with her, trading on the sim, going back into it, getting my confidence back, having a trading strategy, understanding what I liked, what I didn't like, all this. Trial and errors, of course. And I was back on the horse. And that was followed by a long period of good trade days, bad trade days, good trade days, and not being profitable. But not wanting to give up. And this is when I met Edaya, my friend and trader who was in the States, who is in a very similar situation as me. And that's when I realized that I was putting too much pressure on making an income out of trading, and trading when I shouldn't be trading, and trading because I've got that much to pay at the end of the month. And I took a part-time job. It's an admin job. I'm managing the private office of a couple of families who have got properties in France. I'm French, so that's the link. And I do that once, X amount of hours per month, and that covers the bread and butter. And now my trading is I trade when I see something that I would trade. And my trading days have shrunk significantly, and my profitability has risen. And I think I found a way, but it's all very modest. I trade a funded account from a prop firm. I'm now trading a 75K account, and it's starting to compound. It's starting to build up, and I think that's the way. I entered this profession with an addict point of view, an addict vision of fireworks and Rolexes and big this and big that, and it might be the case if you trade a very large account, but for me it's taken a completely different shape. It's a smallish account from home, which allows me to have a lot of freedom, allows me to have another activity on the side that provides me with the comfort blanket of the bread and butter. And trading is a joy, a hobby, and a cherry on the cake. Although I consider it my job, I love it. This is not something that I do. It's been testing. It's really been testing the number of times where I wanted to give up.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to my own story. In fact, during COVID, I was not ill, fortunately, but I was in a similar situation. I had no work. I got back from holiday to find all the usual suspects who would give me work were not giving me work because we had COVID and so on. And this went on for some time. And then I found myself trading to pay the rent, if you like, put food on the table. And that is just the worst because you set yourself up to fail, really.
Yes, indeed.
You trade with a prop firm. Which firm do you trade with?
Apex. They're based in the States.
Yeah, I've heard of them. And what sort of leverage do they typically offer on oil?
My 75K account, I can trade up to 12 contracts.
Okay, yeah. But what's the leverage, though? So that would work out at like 1 to 20?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So with the 75K account, that's a lot, actually. I mean, what do you typically trade?
I don't trade that big.
No.
I think the problem with that is you're
tempted.
You're tempted,
yeah.
And your risk reward and your threshold, the authorized threshold, is not that much at all. So that's also why I've spent over a year trying to find my feet with the right size account, the right risk reward, because it's not because you can trade 12 contracts that you should, because if you trade 12 contracts with a 15-tick stop, it's gambling, it's not trading. So 75K is the right account for me. I started with 25K saying, let's find my feet. That's the amount I had. The problem with that is your threshold is far too close. $12.50. You're having a couple of bad days, you're out. And that follows you through the live account, not just an evaluation. So that's how I've got the setup, and that works for me. And there is a possibility of increasing. You can go up to $300,000 account. I'm not in that position yet.
In your style of trading, because you're trading just the one asset mostly, oil,
Mm-hmm.
will you, if you feel you've got a breakout, will you scale in your trades? So you go for a winner and that's doing well, and then on the next dip you buy some more, or?
No, I don't like doing that. I tend to have my entry levels. I know they're there. I will scale in that candle, in that move. So just in case it didn't come down as low as I expect it to be. When I've got an entry point, it's actually an entry zone. I try not to be too specific on the tick. So I will fill up two by two, one by one, depending how strongly I feel. But once my trade is gone, my trade's gone. I don't add to it. Every single time I've done that, it's come to bite me, so I don't. I stage my. It depends on the trade. I stage my exit, and I think I stage them too much. I have that other tendency of grandiosity, and having that it's an intraday trade, and sometimes I lose track of how much the price can move, particularly to the upside. On the downside, oil moves fast and far. But on the upside, I have been reprimanded for being a bit too optimistic or grandiose in my exit. So I train myself more and more to on up trade, on buying trades, on long trades, to be shorter and to have one entry, one exit, and the results are usually better. On a short, it's slightly different. I've adapted that over the years.
Yeah, short, as you say, on oil especially, does move quicker than going up, doesn't it? Yeah, it's can really catch you out. Yes, like recently we had a very big drop, didn't we?
Yesterday, the day before
the last
yesterday.
few days, really, yeah.
But the day before yesterday, 4% in one day. It was just,
It is going back to what we were saying about other people and how they trade. I mean, I've so many times come unstuck because I've listened to so-called experts, boasting, I know that silver's going up any time now, and the very same day it crashes, How much do you take notice of other experts, if we like? Really well-known traders or pundits or whatever we want to call them? Much less than you used to. Not at all.
Not at all.
Because they really muddy the waters on the whole. I mean, obviously you'll get one or two that are right, but you're surrendering your will, aren't you?
Yes, and don't forget also, I'm an intraday trader. So yes, I used to look on Twitter. I was following a few traders on Twitter, and yes, sometimes they were right, sometimes they were wrong. But it very much depends. In an intraday trade, you can have two traders trading. One is long, the other one is short, and both are making money. It depends how long you stay in the trade. Where did you go short? Where did you go long? So because the execution is such a personal issue, I think this would probably work better on a swing trade or on a longer time frame trade. But intraday trade is very. I don't listen to what people think. Edaya and I trade together. She's a head and shoulder trader, so I will tell her I'm going to go long at that level, and explain why. Send her a screenshot, and she will tell me be careful because at this level you've got a shoulder. So I will take what she says on board and maybe adjust my exit accordingly, but I'm not going to go, I'm going to do like her, because I'm not her. And the same with her. She doesn't take my trades, but we debrief on what we see together. And I take on board her level, she takes on board my level. And she's got her trading strategies as unique to her, and mine is mine, unique to my own style of trading.
Do you feel more comfortable sharing this kind of thing with another woman than, say, a man, or is it just a coincidence she happens to be a woman?
No, because I do share trades with men on the other trading floor. But initially, it's difficult to be heard in a trading floor when you're a woman. So that's probably why Edaya and I got closer. We get on really well. She's younger than me, but she's also got 2 children. Very similar setup, and we talk about other things than just trading. We've become friends. And in Keith's room, the crude oil trading rooms based in the States, it's mostly him that is guiding people, saying what he says. Sometimes he will ask me, what do you think? He often asks me, what price do you think this is going to stop at, either up or down? And because I've got a charting method with Fibonacci, I'll tell him what I see. He's more one of those 30-minute chart trader with no indicators. But because I've been banging on about Fibonacci in that room, he now pays attention and asks once in a while. But otherwise it's a very male-driven environment with one guy speaking and everybody else listening. And I like to go to Keith's room to take the temperature and see what he thinks, but I don't spend my day in there because I've noticed that it tends to impact what I do, and there's an element of peer pressure, And my friend Edaya agrees with me. But we like the conviviality. We like he's been an oil trader for 15 years. He certainly has taught me a lot. But I don't enter when he says jump. He has junior traders in there who are trying to find their feet and find that super helpful. But and he only ever sell oil. He never goes for the buy. So he's got his own trading strategy, very different to mine.
Are you more likely to buy then than sell? Do you feel more comfortable doing that?
No, both. I go. If I have the
Agnostic,
right, if I understand what's going on, either technically or fundamentally. If I don't understand, I don't go against that feeling, and I don't trade. In doubt, we pause. We don't trade. And that has been such a simple statement. It's taken so long for me to take it on board. You don't know what to do? Don't do anything. Simple. Because that little, I don't know what to do, I'll try. Well, it's $300 gone. Because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
That's better. It's cheaper.
It's very often impatience of a kind because you're at the screen and the screen asks you to participate, all these moving candles and what have you. Even at 4 hours, it's still asking you to do something. And so you see that, and we're conditioned to thinking this is the job, therefore I should be active. Sitting, watching is somehow not active enough. But of course, in trading, it is possibly the biggest exception of any kind of activity.
I've got a post-it note here. Trading is waiting, waiting is trading.
In case you forget.
I am a forgetter.
Yeah.
I forget too quickly. So, and that's also why I like the setup of this at home, even if it's not ideal for the long term, because it allows me nothing on the screen. I put some alert. I'll go and play the piano. I'll go and fold some laundry. I'll go and make some phone calls. I'll do something. Whereas I think on a trading floor, you're sat there. You've got kind of peer pressure. And there's nothing else to do. You can bring a book or watch Netflix, but it's frowned upon. So you're more. I think I'm more likely to overtrade in an environment where I haven't got anything else to do. So for that reason, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You go at your own pace that way, don't you? Whereas inevitably in a room with other people, you start to feel self-conscious that perhaps you're not doing enough. It's just one of those things that you feel that.
But I can overtrade here as well. Don't get me wrong. I have, but I'm aware of the pitfalls of that, and I try to. That's been the biggest progress this year, which coincides with me being profitable. So it's not a minor adjustment.
Yeah. Last topic really was, I was curious to hear about this performance coach that you mentioned and helping you with your trading. Did the performance coach have experience of trading, or was it just applying kind of very fundamental hacks, as it were, to solve your issue?
She specializes in performance athlete and traders, so she knows a lot about trading. She's not a trader herself, but she understands the psychology of the trader. She understands the technicalities. So yes, she specializes in trading and performance athlete.
And how often would you get together? Would it be?
It was
through
weekly.
Zoom?
It was weekly, and I think I did that for 3 months.
Okay.
With her.
Did you use hypnotherapy or anything like that? No,
it was on Zoom actually. All this happening, of course, during that period where everything was remote. No, not hypnotherapy. No.
Do you think at some point you might want to go into teaching other traders, or are you quite content being your own person?
I've done a bit of teaching on Fibonacci on Clubhouse during the lockdown. I had the imposter syndrome because I thought I can't teach, but people were asking me to show them how to use it. So it started like that. So yes, I think I would, and if someone asked me, I would.
Yeah, there's no reason for you to have imposter syndrome. After all, you are trading a prop account. You have to pass an evaluation to get there. And you are making money. So I know exactly what you mean, though, because until you feel you really cracked it, it does feel a bit like that, and especially if you don't come from that kind of background.
Yeah, and if you have no markers to give you the validation, the biggest validation really is to become profitable, of course.
Yeah.
But I still have, when you contacted me for this, I was like, me? Why? It's or people asking me, when people were asking me on Clubhouse, can you teach us? And I was like, me teaching you? But I've barely just started. I'm only just beginning. But I certainly know a little bit more than someone who started more recently. And if what I can give them can help them, I'd be delighted to.
There was just one last question around geopolitics and commodities, going back to that one. Do you think you might expand your folio into shares, perhaps, that relate to geopolitics?
No, I would probably extend my folio to other commodities. There is one that I was very tempted to explore, is coffee. For various reasons. I like the product. I know the countries where it grows fairly well. But the market seems to be under the monopoly of very few large buyers, very different landscape to oil. But there are loads of commodities I'd like to explore in the future. More so than shares. I have a portfolio of shares, modest portfolio of shares, but they're more investment. I think my vision of buying shares is more for a company I believe in. I like the product, I like what they do, I like for some personal reasons, and keep giving that a chance to grow as an investment rather than a trade.
Cool. Well, I think we should stop there. If I could go on longer. Thanks so much, Anne, for joining me.